September 16th, 2021 County Council meeting. Would Carrie Myers please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Ms. Zembo, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Kuzic.
Present.
Mrs. Ferraro. Present. Mr. Giovanni.
Present.
Mr. Heckman.
Present.
Mr. Lott.
Here.
Mr. McGee.
Here.
Mr. Myers.
Here.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Here.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of September 2nd?
Motion.
Motion. Second.
There you go. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion approved. Is there courtesy of the floor? There is no one that signed in for courtesy of the floor. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak that did not get to sign in?
I wish to.
Ms. Zirinsky?
So I just wanted to make a note that somebody really important, Rosalind Kaler from Bushkill Township, who basically was a director of conservation districts and also part of the Farmland Preservation program, died or passed on Wednesday, August 25th, 2021, at Moravian Hall Square in Nazareth. Doris Kaler was his wife of 47 years before her passing in 1998. And he's a significant person in the county. He was a proud and successful dairy farmer, and he owned and operated a 125 acres farm in Bushkill Township for 60 years. And for 33 years, Ross, as he was known, Ross was also employed by the County of Northampton as a farmland preservation expert. And during his tenure, he also, again, served on the conservation districts. I just wanted to acknowledge his passing, and if we could all just take a moment, that would be really important. Thank you.
Oh, Rod Scaler.
Thank you, Ms.
Can I
Zirinsky.
ask her a question about
Go
that?
ahead.
How, did they mention his age?
He was 91.
Okay, because Roz, I worked with Roz. In fact, the Farmland Preservation resolution I wrote was a large part Roz, not just me, because he was concerned there was that money out there that we could leverage. And he sort of felt like he was a voice in the wilderness at times. And I remember sitting down with him when I was on the conservation board, and he worked with me when we drafted that. And I just want to say, yeah, he was almost like I'd say the father of our farmland, aggressive farmland program. So that's a terrible loss. I hadn't seen that, so thank you.
Yeah. Well, I had met him at the 200th preserved farmland dedication, and he really moved the county forward in terms of preserving farmland, and he's just his passing should be acknowledged.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak at this time? Seeing and hearing none. Mr. McClure, do you have a report for us this evening?
I do, ma'am. I just, Councilwoman Zirinsky, is such an appropriate remembrance of Mr. Kaler, because we're about to move in the top 10 in farmland preserved in the Commonwealth, and we wouldn't be if he didn't start this program and then so aggressively pursue it through the years. And Maria's done such a nice job in his footsteps, continuing that. So, as you know, at the last meeting, we discussed a request from the Northampton Area School District for our Sheriff's Department to provide some security at the school board meeting on the 20th. Our our sheriff's department will be doing that. Also, they were there this week, and I would like to specifically thank Lieutenants Volpe and Bedritis, Sergeants Heller and Wachowski, and K-9 Deputy Tuxhorn. They all volunteered to provide security at the school board meeting, and they report that the meeting went off. There were some instances of vociferous First Amendment rhetoric protected by the First Amendment, but no violence whatsoever. And a few people had to take their pocket knives back to their cars, but otherwise no serious threats of violence. And I thank them for their efforts there. We had the World Heritage meeting yesterday at Town Hall in Bethlehem. And we're going to have Charlene Donches-Mowers and Hank Barnett here for you in October to give you the full breadth of what's going on with that. But let me say, we are on our way to having a World Heritage designation in Bethlehem. And this is a huge, huge deal. It's a serial nomination, which means we are being nominated, if we are nominated, with Herrnhut, Germany, and Grace Hill, Northern Ireland. And that makes it far more likely, because we've agreed to the serial nomination, to connect to the Christianfeld Moravian it's already a designated World Heritage Site, makes it much more likely we will get our designation. There will be approximately 50 to 60,000 additional visitors a year to Bethlehem once we get that designation. And these travelers come from all over the world. They stay for a week or two, and they spend a great deal of money. So we're looking forward to that. In addition to all of the cultural benefits and the preservation of our Moravian heritage that this will help us bring. The tourism impact is going to be huge. And I'm reporting to you tonight because Stephen Morris, who is from the U.S. Department of the Interior, who nominated Bethlehem, was there yesterday, and he said one of the criteria they looked at when they agreed to make a nomination is there financial backing for the World Heritage process in the location. And you are that financial backing. You, County Council, are that financial backing. So I wanted to make sure that you knew that on a national and international basis, the efforts that you have put forward thus far and will again into the future are making this possible in Bethlehem and for Northampton County. I wanted to discuss with you a little bit about I asked Linda to share with you our most recent updates at the COVID-19 testing and vaccination collaboration with Coordinated Health Lehigh Valley Hospital. As you see, we have tested since its inception 5,181 people, which is in addition to the 1,666 people that we tested with Easton Hospital when we had that collaboration. And you can see from the document that they have, using the accessible drive-through location, injected 1,046 vaccinations, and 549 people are totally vaccinated thanks to this site. So we are doing our part for the larger community with respect to trying to crush the pandemic, which, as you know, the Delta variant of COVID-19 has caused a spike in our region. It has also caused a spike in our prison. NCP today has 22 inmates who are infected, 7 prison staff, and 2 vendors. The vast majority, 98% of these people are unvaccinated. So this very minor outbreak, and remember there's over 500 people in residence at NCP, over 200 people minding them. So it's a very small percentage of the total population of people who are in and out of there over the 3 shifts in a 24-hour period. But those people aren't, the people who are getting infected are not vaccinated. They're not vaccinated. People need to get vaccinated, and they need to do it now. Vaccinations save lives and livelihoods. I don't know what else to say. We've offered them an additional $500 until December 31st. These would be the corrections officers. 82 of the approximately 211, which is 38% if my math is right, have reported that they are vaccinated. It's not enough. We need closer to 100%. We have had, I don't know, the Director of Corrections is here with us tonight. We've had 16 COVID-19 vaccination clinics in NCP. 16. And we have vaccinated 353 inmates over those 16 vaccination clinics. And currently, 288 residents have been vaccinated, who are current residents. Jail staff, 10 in those, so 10 jail staff during those 16, it's not enough. People have to get vaccinated. It's not good enough. When you're working in a closed-in environment, like, people have to do it. You may have heard, we talked at the last meeting about the county's offer to take on the tremendous, horrendous liability of the quarry, the Dutch Springs Quarry, in exchange for Trammell Crow giving up one of the planned warehouses. They have, of course, rejected that offer. And therefore, the county is really out of options. I was specifically disappointed with P Corp today in that they have communicated to us that they would not insure us taking on the Dutch Springs Quarry. You're laughing, but I've been actually disappointed with P Corp for quite some time. But specifically, they have said that they would not insure the acquisition of the Dutch Springs Quarry. And specifically, and they even drilled down to specifically exclude scuba diving. So under our current insurance regime, we wouldn't be able to preserve the quarry for its particularly important public purpose of training scuba divers because we wouldn't be insured for it. So because we can't be insured for it, we are completely out of options in terms of working there at Dutch Springs. And you probably, unless some miracle unfolds, you will not hear from me about it again. We tried, and unfortunately, we weren't successful. If they would have given up the warehouse, I maybe would have come to you and suggested that you take the risk, but they won't, so that concludes that. And I think that might, if you don't have any questions for me, conclude my report, except I do have one announcement to make. And this is a hard one for me to make because Kathleen Wedge is leaving the service of the county, and she has been just a remarkable director of human resources. Kathleen's smart, but she's got something that I think you really want in your resources professionals. She has a high degree of emotional intelligence. She's almost never wrong when she comes to me with a particular human resources issue. She's almost never wrong with the overall feeling of, what the discipline should be, what the appropriate level of discipline should be. As you know, in Northampton County, we have a progressive discipline system. And, very often a manager, I won't name names, might say, well, just fire him, right? No, that's not how it works in a progressive system. And very often some pretty serious discipline is warranted that is short of termination. And someone like Kathleen and her particular skill set is invaluable to have in that role. And, if she wants to tell you why she's not going to be with us anymore, that's up to her. But she's here, I think. You here? Yeah, she's here. And what I would announce is that I have appointed Mary Lou Caboli, who has been toiling away for us in human resources at Gracedale for these last 3.5 years as the acting director of human resources. And you saw some of Mary Lou's talent when she came to you to show you the recruitment, the recruitment work we've been doing at Gracedale. So I think you'll get to know her a little bit better in the role, and we look forward to all the wonderful things that she can do too. Kathleen, is there anything you want to say to council?
I just wanted to thank everybody for the opportunity. As the executive said, it's been a great almost 4 years now that I've been here, and I thank all of you for trusting in me and appointing me along with the executive. It's nothing. The reason I'm leaving is really to be home with my kids. As most of you know, I have 2 small children, so it was a very hard decision to make. If that wasn't the case, I would have stayed until someone kicked me out. So, but thank you. I really enjoyed my time here.
Well, Kathleen, you would have had to go through that progressive discipline before you got kicked out. First would have been a verbal warning and then written, and okay. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr.
Question.
McClure. Mr. Heckman apparently has 2 questions.
Thank you. One, with the World Heritage, I understand you received a German book. Well, is that going to be a county thing, or?
It's in my office on the table.
Okay, I just wondered. It's written in German?
It is.
Oh, in my limited German sense, I got to check that out.
You got to come over and
I
see
didn't know if it was yours or it was the county's.
it's the county's. I think it was given to me in my official capacity.
Yeah.
I'll leave it behind when I leave.
Oh, that's nice of you.
Okay.
Okay.
But it's over there now. Go look at it.
All right. The other thing is getting back to the correction officers. And I know at Gracedale, where we're at, the president has issued as far as people in nursing home environments, long-term care. I don't know if that's taken effect yet, but I believe there's going to be mandates regarding those who receive federal funds through states that you're going to have to get vaccinated or leave. And you probably know more about that than I do. I don't know now, that obviously doesn't cover prison staff, but as the chief executive officer of the county, I believe you pointed out a serious issue. And you have progressively, we've tried this, that, and the other. And I agree with you that this can only get, with the variants, we don't, and I don't know, this new variant, there's variants. Until we can crush this thing at some point, these variants are still potential. What do you see as the next step we may have to take? Because I don't think it's a workable option to have what the percentage of people not vaccinated?
38.
Yeah, it's just too many. I mean, and look, I don't want to get into the freedom business here with that. I mean, it's a job. People's lives are at stake over there. We are much like the nursing home in the sense that whether people want to say it or not, we're responsible for the health and safety of the prisoners. And I think that goes with your job. So I would like to hear if you have thoughts, if not, sometime when you do want to get into that, if not tonight, at some point.
Well, I have thoughts. One of them is public health experts and public health experts with respect to communication all say that working with folks who are vaccine hesitant requires empathy. And with that being said, so you're not making fun of them, not, trying to put their arm behind their back, not telling them why they're wrong. Now, this isn't Lamont. These are public health communication experts who say this.
I agree
And they
with
say,
them. Yeah.
the strong arm tactics are the ones that are likely not to have the most effect. So we have that large context. Then we have the context that these corrections officers, as you know, are represented by a collective bargaining unit. AFSCME has informed me that they believe vaccinations are a bargainable issue. I don't agree with them. I've told them that I don't believe vaccinations are bargainable, but they do believe that. Further, AFSCME has asked, in advance of any action the county would take with respect to mandates, that we engage in education with respect to the COVID-19 vaccine. Now, we have been communicating regularly at NCP with everyone who works there about vaccinations. We've been encouraging them, but now we've taken the additional step of getting the CDC and the Pennsylvania Department of Health information, and we're starting to specifically convey vaccine information, that it's safe and effective on a weekly basis. And the other piece of this that you have to think about in advance of mandates is we've agreed to pay them $500 to the end of the year to get the vaccination. So we're very hopeful as we get closer, more and more of them will voluntarily agree to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the shaming business, I've never really shamed anybody about getting it. But I mean, then we get into the practical reality of things. And I mean, you gave a report.
Right.
And the report is, as I said, when we were finally, the vaccine was a surplus, and my wife we were talking about it, I said, well, we're probably hit the wall. I mean, people, there's no one out there that doesn't know about the vaccine. There aren't many people who are like, oh, there's a vaccine for this. There are people who just won't take it for whatever reason, And I don't even get into that. But as a functioning body, and you know as well as I do, because we've talked about this, the nursing home is one of those places, and the prison is one of those places where we have to be open, 7 by 24. And it's not shame. I'm not talking necessarily about mandates, but since you are bringing it up, I don't know. I mean, let's say more infections break out over there. I don't know. I'm just curious how we're going to handle it. And it sounds like we're just going to have to play it by ear.
Yes, correct.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Myers?
In the same line, Mr. McClure, I'm looking at the 38%, and tell me if I'm wrong. Do these people that we employ at the prison understand that they have a controlled environment, that they're in complete control of the situation?
You'll have to understand you'll have to ask them what they understand. I presume they're intelligent people. I understand they do.
This is a captive audience that they have.
I understand they understand.
Anyone else?
On the quarry, I appreciate everything the administration did. I don't think we could have done any more. Do we know, and this might not be the person to ask, but do we know where they're going to go with the quarry? I mean, what they're going to do with the quarry?
I think there are
Is the diving going to stop?
There are a number of diving associations, organizations, individuals, folks trying to come together, but we're out.
Yeah.
And P Corp they've sealed the.
It's a shame they didn't look at how
Coffin shop.
many lives that are going to be saved by those people getting trained, but thank you. Thank you very much. That's all.
Mr. Law?
Yeah, so on Dutch Springs too, I thank the administration for working. Sometimes you are not successful, but just by bringing it to light and, making the effort tends to get the ball rolling. And I know there is some groups out there trying to make something happen for first rescue. So hopefully the county can't do it, but doesn't mean it isn't going to happen yet. May not, but I think bringing it to light here has been very helpful and giving it a chance to happen. So stay tuned on that. And on another note, totally different from everything, I just want to thank Kathleen for her outstanding service to the county. We appreciate what you've done and all the work you've done here. And We're going to miss you, but I think your priorities are probably placed at the right place. So enjoy your children, and we'll see you in 15 years. Kids grow up.
Sometimes you gotta be a baby. Sometimes you gotta be a mommy.
Does anyone else have a question for Mr. McClure? Mr. Cusick?
Real quickly, has the Election Commission changed the drop box hours for this fall's election?
I'll have Mr. Dertinger answer that question for you.
The Dropbox is pretty much the same as it was last year. As a matter of fact, it's exactly the same as it was last year. The only difference is we are recognizing the reality of the 911 center. The 911 center's location is in the vestibule that comes into the 911 center. It is not a locked location. It is fully surveilled throughout the 24 hours that it's there. It is generally left open for a number of reasons. One of the reasons is very simply, that's where food is delivered for the people who are working overnight. And that's perhaps one of the other reasons it's so well surveilled, so that they can see when their food gets there. The supervisors have that location on their monitors straight through the time. So recognizing that it has been open 24 hours and people could go in there, we just made it known to the public that it is in fact open 24 hours.
I guess my question was, has this been approved by the Election Commission?
It's not a function of the Elections Commission. Having been a 3-term chairman of the Elections Commission, I have a pretty clear understanding of what their responsibilities are, and this is just, like many of the other items, something that is just done by the office. And a location that we've had it already, so it's not a change,
But
it's really just
But it
making
is
it
a
clear.
change to the hours that it's available.
Well, it was available those hours before. The room was not locked, it was surveilled, and it's been monitored, but it was not locked, so it was available before.
But it was not advertised as such.
Right, no, it wasn't
So that
advertised,
is-
but
there is a change, though, in what we are advertising on the Elections Office website.
yes, there
It
is.
says 24/7 there, which it
We're
did not in
recognizing the
previous
reality of
election.
what was there. People could have gone before, and people may have gone before and dropped off them. It's not fair that some people, just because they tried, were able to drop off their ballot, and other people don't bother to try because they didn't think that it was open.
Thank you.
Mrs. Ferraro?
But isn't it true that everyone has to bring their own ballot?
Yes, oh, absolutely, that is
And then,
Pennsylvania state law.
but how do you police that?
The same way we do at every other location. We have people that are watching it, and people are expected to follow the law. We have it's a circumstance, and specifically because we do have employees at Gracedale that are working 3 shifts. If they're coming to work and they want to bring their ballot, they can bring their ballot. They're right there, and many of them park in that parking lot, so.
I have no problem with that. Just have a problem with it just seems unreasonable to think that people aren't going to bring their neighbors or bring stuff to give.
We have done everything that we can. It's clearly identified that the box is under surveillance. The laws governing how many ballots you are allowed to drop off, which is exactly yours, just one, are clearly and very prominently posted by the drop boxes. And we keep a full surveillance on all those locations, all 4 of the locations.
Just asking, thank you.
Any other questions from Mr. McClure? Mr. Myers?
Not Mr. McClure, Mr. Dertinger.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Dertinger now is on display.
Just to follow up on my colleagues across the aisle, have we ever had a problem with the drop boxes, to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Then I can't understand what the problem is. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from Mr. Dertinger or Mr. McClure? Thank you. I think we all want to express our gratitude and best wishes to Kathleen, and we're going to miss you. You've been a great presence, not only here, but on the pension board, and Have fun with those babies while they're young. We appreciate you. Moving into, all right, they grow up in their 20.
13.
Old business, is there any old business to discuss? Hearing none, we'll move into new business. The introduction of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the County Council of Northampton County authorizing the purchase of approximately 112 acres of real property by the County of Northampton in East Allen Township, Pennsylvania, from Nancy F. Spangler, now by marriage Nancy S. Bruck, Donald Spangler, Peggy M. Moser, and Donna S. Neely." I'm going to sponsor this ordinance. I need a second
I'll
sponsor.
be your second.
Mr. Myers will have a public hearing and debate, possibly vote on October 7th, 2021 meeting. Thank you. Next, we have a consideration of a waiver of appraisal for Spangler property resolution. Ms. Zirinsky.
Do you want me to just read the now therefore, or do you want me to read it through? I can read quick, I'll just get over. So, whereas
do
Northampton
the-
County Administrative Code, Section 13.4B, provides that the county shall not purchase, sell, or lease real estate without first obtaining sealed appraisals from 2 professional real estate appraisers, and whereas Administrative Code, Section 13.14B, 2 allows that provision to be waived when the purchase, sale, or lease of real estate does not justify the cost of the appraisals or is otherwise deemed unnecessary. And whereas on September 9th, 2021, Northampton County Council was requested to waive the requirement for 2 sealed appraisals as required under Section 13.14B of the Administrative Code, be waived by the purchase of approximately 112 acres known as the Spangler property, parcel identifier L5-67D0508, located from Nancy F. Spangler, now by marriage, Nancy S. Bruck, Donald D. Spangler, Peggy M. Moser, and Donna S. Neely for the purchase price of $2,690,000 at a unit cost of $24,000 per acre as a simple fee acquisition made part of the Northampton County's park system. Whereas the county obtained 1 professional appraisal, which confirms a fair market value price commensurate with the sales price. The fair market value is consistent with other appraisals received and consistent with the comparison of local acquisitions provided in the appraisal report. Therefore, a second appraisal is requested to be waived. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved by the Northampton County Council that the requirement for 2 sealed appraisals as required under Section 13.14B2 of the Administrative Code be waived by the county's purchase of the approximately 112 acres known as the Spangler property, parcel identifier LV-67D0508, located at the East Allen Township, Pennsylvania. We discussed this at the EELU meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Zirinsky, and yes, it was a good presentation, and is there any discussion, further discussion on this matter? Hearing and seeing none, let's call for the vote.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lot.
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Kusick.
Yes.
And Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Next, we have the consideration of personnel elimination and creation in the Department of Human Services, Gracedale Resolution. Mr. Heckman, please introduce the resolution.
Yes, it is hereby resolved by Northampton County Council, excuse me, that 1 part-time position of clerical technician 2, Gracedale Special Services, pay grade CS 13-1A, salary $15,946, shall be eliminated in the Department of Human Services, Gracedale, effective September 17th, 2021. It is hereby resolved by Northampton County Council that the 1 part-time position of clerical tech 1 gift shop, pay grade CS 11-1A, salary $545.50 be created in the Department of Human Services, Gracedale, effective September 17th, 2021. It's introduced.
Thank you. Are there any questions or discussion on this matter? Seeing and hearing none, let's call for the vote.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lot.
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Next, we have the consideration of approval of funding Steel Weekend and Steel Workers Reunion Party through a Hotel Tax 2000 grant resolution. Mr. Lot, will you please introduce this?
Sure will. This was reviewed and a presentation was given at the Economic Development Committee meeting last week, and I will introduce the resolution. Whereas Northampton County Council, through adoption of Ordinance 440 of 2005, is authorized by PL 307 of 2000 and amended by Act 12 of 2005, imposes a hotel room rental tax on hotel guests to be used to further development of tourism facilities and for community development initiatives in Northampton County that enhance regional tourism. Whereas National Museum of Industrial History, NMIH, in partnership with the Steelworkers Archives, respectfully requests funding through the Department of Community and Economic Development Hotel Tax Program to support their 2021 Steel Weekend and Steelworkers Reunion Party. And whereas at the September 2nd, 2021 Economic Development Committee meeting, the NMIH and the Steelworkers Archive representative relayed that the 2020 Steelworkers Last Cast 25 event, partially funded by Northampton County hotel tax dollars, was a success, and that they wish to hold the event annually honoring former steelworkers and educating the public on the significant role that steel industry played in forging our community and our nation. And whereas NMIH budget and requested for funding consideration in the amount of $5,000 for the 2021 event to be held September 25th and 6th are attached as Exhibit A, and whereas Northampton County Council wishes to grant funds for this purpose. Now, therefore, it be resolved by the Council of the County of Northampton, 1, the requested $500 to support Steel Weekend and Steelworkers Reunion Party to be held September 25th and 26th, 2021 is approved by Northampton County Council. 2, the County Executive of the County of Northampton is authorized to execute and grant agreements with the application not to exceed the approved amount. 3, the hotel room rental tax 200 funds should be utilized to support this grant. So introduced.
Thank you, Mr. Lot. Thank you, Mr. Lot. Is there any discussion regarding this matter?
Just,
Mr. Myers?
They said he read it wrong. It was 5,000 instead of 500 in the last part.
I stand corrected.
So we're correct.
Thank you. Comments? Discussion? Motion, or rather, discussion, call for the vote.
Mr. Lot.
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yeah.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Next, we have consideration of the American Rescue Plan funding resolution. Mr. Will you introduce this resolution?
Absolutely. Whereas March 11th, 2021, the American Rescue Plan of Act 2021, H.R. 1319, was signed into law and is intended to combat the COVID-19 pandemic, including the public health and economic impacts. And whereas Northampton County was awarded an allocation of approximately $30 million of American Recovery Plan funding to spend in various relief efforts. And, sorry, my mask is getting a little bit. Whereas a grant review committee comprised of Northampton County Department of Community and Economic Development staff and county administration convened to review and make funding recommendations. The recommendations totaling $1,868,857.25 for 137 projects are attached hereto and made a part hereof as Exhibit A. Now therefore be it resolved by the Northampton County by the Council of the County of Northampton that the recommended grants in Exhibit A are approved, that the county executive of the County of Northampton is authorized to execute any and all necessary grant agreements with the applicants not to exceed the approved amount for each grant. And the list is attached to the resolution. So moved.
Thank you.
This was also discussed last night in the committee meeting. Thank you.
Okay, is there any further discussion on this matter? Mr. Myers?
Just a question. We asked last night what the total is at this point, and Mr. Barron is supposed to give us an answer tonight?
What's left?
What's the total that has been given out so far?
Expended to date.
We are at approximately $17 million between the two grant rounds.
Outstanding. Thank you.
That includes this amount tonight, sir? Thank you. Yes, Ms. Ferraro.
Have any of these businesses received in previously? It seems like names are duplicated here.
Yes, so this is the first where you'll see new and businesses that received money under the Recovery Act,
Okay, good.
or the CARES Act, I'm sorry.
Mr. Heckman?
Yeah, I was at this committee meeting, and yes, Ms. Farrar, it was due and also those receiving it. And I support this. I was there. I think that everybody did a great job, and it's doing what's supposed to be done. But I just want to say something, if I may, since I'm part of this process, and it's not really a debate or a discussion point, at least for me. This American Recovery Act, we've been very good, I think, at getting it out. And you know, I think it's doing what it's supposed to do. The president mentioned when he was talking about the COVID and economy and infrastructure that we're at an inflection point in our economy. And I agree in every way, because the American economic situation and the wealth gap has certainly changed over the last 35 years, not necessarily in a good way. And the COVID just exacerbated a problem that's been brewing for a long time, especially as it affects employees locally in our expanding service-based economy. And that has often not kept up with the living wages that people need to live, work, and survive in the Lehigh Valley. The service industry can no longer just be thought of as a starting young person's job. So while I will continue to support COVID funding for small businesses, I will also be monitoring how wages are handled going forward. Certainly, if taxpayer money can be expended to save a business, I see no reason why we don't look out for the very people who make these businesses operate. There are numerous leaders in government and business condemning the ongoing support for employees receiving supplemental income and want it to end, and it looks like it's working. But I do think that going forward, I want to be clear from my perspective, I will continue to support helping small businesses, but I will also be looking much more in detail at how these businesses are handling their employees. The excuse that I just can't afford it isn't going to wash anymore. I think we're seeing a labor inflection point that is representing something that has to do with the extremely low wages, particularly in the service industry that has been out there for some time. And I was watching a local business show, and business leaders were saying, we just want people to come back to work. Fine, then you got to pay them. So that's all. I just wanted to make that statement going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heckman. Anyone else have a comment or discussion for this matter? Call for the vote, please.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lot.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you very much. Next, we have the consideration of Gracedale private pay rate resolution. Mr. McGee.
Thank you. Resolved by the Northampton County Council that effective January 1st, 2022, the Gracedale private pay rate for semi-private rooms shall be $360 per day, and a private room shall be $370 per day. So moved. This was also discussed and explained in last night's Finance Committee meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions regarding this matter? Call for the vote?
Mr. McGee,
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lot.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Next, we have the consideration of a memorandum of understanding for Gracedale sign-on bonus resolution. Mr. Heckman, will you introduce this resolution?
Whereas on September 13th, 2021, Northampton County Council received memoranda of understanding between Northampton County and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, otherwise known as AFSCME, District Council 88, Local 1435, and United Steel, Paper, and Forestry, Rubber, Manufacturing, Energy, Allied Industrial, and Service Workers International Union, Local 2599, otherwise known as unions, regarding a sign-on bonus for certain employees at Gracedale, and you have an attachment. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved by Northampton County Council that the memoranda of understanding shall be approved this day of, what is it today, the 20th? 16th day of September, 2021. That's it. So moved. Whatever.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this matter? Mr. Cusick?
Yeah, real quick, as I said yesterday, I don't oppose giving bonuses. I just feel that this number is insufficient. I know we threw out some numbers, but I would prefer to see it be $1,000 and $2,000 or $1,500, I think was the number discussed for the RNs. I understand some of you, see this as a starting point. Maybe we can come back and do more, but I think we're in competition, particularly for nurses. I think one of the issues that somebody brought up yesterday, which is accurate, is that we do offer a robust pension and benefit program. But at the entry level, I'm not so sure that that's what's motivating somebody to take a job in laundry or dietary. I think it's the immediate income. So, and just to double what Mr. Heckman had said earlier, I do think it's time that we raise the rate. So this is a good idea. I just don't think it goes far enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cusick. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Lot?
We've all seemed to agree yesterday that maybe RNs or, some of the positions, this isn't going to really attract. So I would like, I'd like to see the administration take a look at the RNs and maybe come back. I believe we move this forward because there's some positions this will make a difference. But I would like them to come back very shortly with something a little more appropriate for the RNs and see if it can pass council. Just putting it out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Farrar?
I really echo these statements that have been said. This really isn't really nearly enough money to attract people. Okay, it's a start. Thank you.
Mr. McGee?
Yeah, I feel the same way, and you almost have to wear their shoes and think about how they're making their decisions. And, maybe something equal to, I don't know, a month's rent and food or, something. I mean, it's just, what's going to make the difference? And I don't know what we can afford. So I agree that the administration should take another look at moving forward and maybe even possibly extend the date once they come up with something. Thank you.
If there's no further discussion, questions? Call for the vote.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
No.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Lot,
Yes.
Mr. McGee,
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 8 to 1.
Thank you. Next, we have the consideration of an amendment to Articles of Incorporation for the Lehigh and Northampton Transportation Authority Resolution. I'm going to skip down to the second to last. Whereas the County of Northampton has agreed to Lanta's proposal of establishing a mutually agreed upon contribution to required local match to federal, state, or other grant funds with the County of Lehigh, and whereas it is necessary to amend Lanta's Articles of Incorporation to extend its existence to March 9th, 2071, and to incorporate the mutually agreed contribution to required local match to federal, state, or other grant funds. Now therefore be it resolved that the County of Northampton agrees to extend the existence of Lanta to March 9th, 2071. The County of Northampton, in conjunction with the County of Lehigh, supports and approves the contribution to required local match to federal, state, or other grant funds developed by Lanta, which provides the percentage contribution of each county to provide funds for required local match to federal, state, or other source grants issued to Lanta shall equal the percentage distribution of revenue hours of service and revenue miles of service operated in each county. The distribution of revenue hours of service and revenue miles of service shall be based on factors which affect the need for public transportation services. Lanta shall conduct an analysis of the percentage distribution at a frequency of no more than 5 years. Upon approval of the counties, the analysis will be used to establish the percentage of contribution to local match requirements for each county for the subsequent 5-year period or until the next approved analysis, whichever is sooner. The first such analysis will be conducted and approved in a manner to allow the first 5-year period to begin with calendar year 2022. Be it further resolved that Lanta is directed to file the necessary legal documents in order to effect these required amendments to its Articles of Incorporation. Is there any discussion regarding this matter? Mr. Lott.
I'd just like to say, I really think that's a great thing that we put this in, that we tie our support with the amount of usage. I think that's excellent, because they could expand to other counties. I think it protects the county well, so I appreciate that being inserted. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. McGee.
I echo Mr. Lott's words, but also whoever put it together, I really appreciate their efforts. I know Lanta's been in here a couple of times. I know we had some discussions on market share for Northampton County and the cost for Northampton County. And I know they've stepped up, and I know they have their challenges, and we are a team player, but it seems like a lot more fair of a deal than what we had. It's a very long time, so.
Thank you. Mr. Heckman.
Yeah, I just have a question. 50 years? I mean, I don't know, have we ever done anything where we locked ourselves in for 50 years?
Sure, LVDC. Look,
No, I don't think we have a permanent agreement.
oh, yeah.
I'd like to see it, because I don't think we're locked into giving them anything.
Oh, LVDC might be 100. I don't know. We'll have to check that
We
for
gave them
you.
a certain amount, but we
It's
could have changed it.
decades long.
Yeah, we gave it.
So it's a standard, I think 50 years is a standard time frame when you're talking about large public transportation systems. The federal government, and to a lesser extent, the state government, want to see federal highways, the Department of Transportation specifically want to see a long-term commitment to the system. You know, since 1752, our fates have been intertwined with Lehigh County, and then they left us in the early 1800s, and we've still been intertwined, and we will be forever intertwined. Our fates will forever be intertwined with Lehigh County. But this is the beginning of Northampton County paying for the services that it gets. We're no longer going to pay 50-50 when the services aren't provided on a 50-50 basis. And this is just the beginning. This Lanta deal is just the beginning of that. And I want to commend Lanta. I want to commend Owen O'Neill for working with us. Mr. Dertinger spearheaded our negotiation efforts. He did this. He's beginning to bring fairness to the bi-county process, which we all endorse. We all know it's important to continue our bi-county relationships. We're never going to separate from Lehigh County, where we are twins and we will be so linked forever. But this is the beginning of the process of Northampton County not paying more than its fair share. Mr. Dertinger, First Assistant Solicitor Corey Ayer, very important. Council President Fargo Hefner provided us a great deal of moral courage as we were moving through this process, because this was a very important issue to her. So just to put it in numbers, now the numbers aren't dramatic, but this year's budget for Lanta, our share was $603,000. Under the old regime, you could anticipate that we would pay $640,000 in 2022, but under this regime, it's anticipated that our budget number will be $546,000. So there you go. And it'll be reviewed every 5 years, so that if in 5 years it turns out it's 50-50, or even we're getting more services, then we'll pay that fair share. And Lanta will conduct that review. Again, I can't say enough about Lanta's cooperation and Lehigh County's cooperation in this whole process. Everybody has been very fair, and we're looking forward to 50 years of continued cooperation. I hope I get to do the next one.
Okay, well, I mean, as part of council's debate.
I won't, but, I can hope.
Yeah, right.
Yes, he just wanted to
I
state
got it.
some facts.
But, I mean, do we still have the option at any time to, like with any contract, opt out, or do we have to do it in 5-year increments? Because we're binding future executives and
No,
council.
it's a.
No, can I just defer for 1 minute to Mr. Spadoni, because I did ask you this question. I did defer to Mr. Spadoni, and he did give me some clarification on that matter. So do you want to
Well, that's
speak
why
to
we
that?
pay him. I'd like to hear what he has to say. What? That's why we pay him.
One of the issues that was discussed this week was, there was concern about the 2071 number,
Yeah, I
that it
didn't
was
see around to see that.
50 years. One of the issues with an authority like this is their indebtedness, that when they go out for 25, 30 years, they need to convince the mortgagor, if you will, that they're going to be in existence to pay the money back. So that's one of the concerns. But the executive's correct that they look in these terms for these types of agencies and authorities at decades-long re-upping. Now, your question as to whether, in fact, we can opt out, I did not look at. I mean, that was not presented to
I
me.
mean, and I'm not questioning the motivation. We're paying this. We don't want to pay more than we should. We should get our proportional. All of that's fluff for me, because it's important, and we're going to take care of it. I'm looking at the number, that's all. I always look, and I'm on authority, I'm the chair. Whenever we link ourselves to somebody, we're linking ourselves to somebody for a long time here. And I get it that we'll review and this and that and whatever, but council is a legislative body. We're supposed to be involved, and I know in recent years we're not as involved, but that being said, I was just concerned about our protection. I mean, this may be a super deal for the county. I just don't recall us doing something where we lock ourselves in for 50 years. I mean, I'd love to see the articles of incorporation that say anything that we have to do that. But that being said, I don't knock the concept. I just was concerned about the timing. It's not like I'm probably going to have to worry about it, but somebody down the road sitting here might be going, oh, crap. Why did they lock us in for 50 years on this? And I just wanted to know what their options were. That's all.
I do remember when we had them in a few years ago, Mike questioning that when he was here, and he did state that we had a 50-year agreement, and that's why I raised the question to Mr. McClure. And there was no provision for the review of usage and the equity of service. So I really appreciate that those 5-year benchmarks were put in here, because I think, in terms of bonds and funding and such agreements, okay, we're going to keep Lanta for 50 years, but,
I think Mr. Spadoni would agree that
well,
any law or agreement is only as good as the last judge that looks at it. I'm for it. This isn't a big deal. It's just a unique situation. And before I would just say, oh, yeah, sure, it's great, let's do it. I just thought it was important to touch base on 50 years. I mean,
I don't think
this isn't
any
a
of us
common
were here the
occurrence.
last time, so, Mr.
No, and that doesn't mean it was right. Everything's a great idea until it isn't. But I'm just saying, just because somebody did it before, I'm just.
Mr. McClure, did you want to add to that, please?
I did not. I thought the debate unfolded perfectly well in a way to elucidate the issues, and I think we're all illuminated.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McGee.
Yeah, I'd also like to just, that's great that, it's good to question things, and that's how we find answers out, but it's also important to understand how important the land to service is to our residents. There's people that's the only way they get around, and, and so I think that I think it's a great deal, and it's something that we need, and we're paying our fair share, which I think is important, and that's all. Thank you.
Anyone else have a comment or question? Mr. Myers?
Just a comment. Billy already said it, but I want to echo the fact that how very important it is to our community. This is how people are getting to work, and with everything starting to branch out, and we may talk about warehouses, but there are people who are working at those warehouses who have to get to it, and the fact that we're doing this, and I love the fact that it's a 5-year check, and we're only paying our share. Thank you, Mr. Derringer, for sticking your toe in this and coming out smelling like a rose.
And all I want to say is, I'm very pro-Lanta. There was a time council actually debated and discussed big issues, and I guess I always fall back into old habits. But that being said, yes, we need Lanta. We need inexpensive transportation. We need good people. We need oxygen. We need all kinds of things. And I'm in support of all of that. Thank you.
Let's hope we have all that in 2071.
I hope
Can we call for the vote?
Ms. Fargo have,
Can I get the last word in?
Yes, you can.
And we need good debate, Mr. Heckman.
That would be nice.
Thank you. Call for the vote.
Ms. Fargo Hefner,
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky. Mr. Kuzic,
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro,
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Heckman,
Yes.
Mr. Lott,
Yes.
Mr. McGee,
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Next, we have the consideration of outside auditor resolution. Mr. McGee, will you introduce, please?
I'd be glad to. Whereas the Northampton County Home Charter Rule, Section 708, independent post audit provides that, bear with me here. You got to get the right setup here. Provides that the county council shall appoint an independent certified public audit accountant or firm of such accountants authorized and licensed to do business in Pennsylvania to audit all agencies and county funds received or dispersed. This audit shall be conducted annually thereafter the end of the fiscal year in accordance with the generally accepted auditing principles. The auditor shall submit a report of the findings of this audit no later than 120 days after the end of the fiscal year. Copies of this report shall be made available to the public at a reasonable price determined by the county council. And whereas on July 14th, 2021, the Northampton County Council issued requests for proposals for independent auditing services, and whereas August 19th, 2021, proposals were reviewed from 1, BBD LLC, number 2, Kohansky Company, PC, and number 3, Mar Ducel. Number 4, Rainsel, Kuntz, and Lesher, LLP, and number 5, Zelikoff, Axelrod. Now therefore be it resolved by Northampton County Council that it does hereby accept the proposal of
We see blank right now.
blank to provide auditing services for the county of Northampton for the fiscal years ending 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025. Be it further resolved by Northampton County Council that the solicitor of the county council is directed to prepare the necessary contract with blank according to the terms and conditions set forth in the request for proposals for auditing services.
Thank you.
So moved and attached are the results of the bid.
Okay, so we need to have a discussion to review, what we did review this yesterday. Mar Ducell was the company that we proposed to take over the audit. So we need to have, I guess I need to see if there's a consensus to that, or if we have further discussion. So, Mr. McGee?
Yes, hi. So I just want to comment a little bit. In our Finance Committee meeting yesterday, we did discuss kind of the breakdown of the sealed proposal bids that we reviewed. It was Mr. Kusick, Ms. Vargo Hefner, and myself. And out of the 5 bidders, the best bid that we recognized was Mar Ducell, based on not just the cost, but also their services and their experience and their accessibility. And we also thought that they would be attentive to the size of our county. That's my comments.
Thank you. Mr. Cusick?
Yeah, I'll just reiterate some of the things I said yesterday. I think that the proposal that they put forth was indicative of the time that they took to investigate what this county does. They do have experience in other counties with nursing homes. They have a variety of different size county experience in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. One of the concerns that we had was whether or not they had local experience, and lo and behold, they've done work for the city of Bethlehem. So they're very familiar with this area, and I've heard nothing but good things. At this point, I'll make a motion to amend the resolution to replace the blank with Mar Ducell.
I need to,
Wow,
can I do that at this time, or?
well, we just did it.
What, can you, I just wanted to hold the discussion open, and then I was going to ask for the motion. So I just wanted to see if there was anybody who didn't agree with us.
All right, I'll withdraw then.
You can make it when we're ready. Thank you. Any further discussion on this or questions? Mr. Lott?
No, just a comment, along with the committee that spent quite a bit of time, all the council people received these proposals, I believe, a week and a half or so ago. So everybody did get to take a look at all these proposals, and the committee, really dug into it. And so I'm very confident to go along with the committee's suggestion, so.
Thank you. Ms. Zirinsky?
I would reiterate that. I really appreciate the points that Mr. Cusick and Mr. McGee made, as well as yourself, to inform us of your discussion in your committee. And after reviewing the proposals, I would say that, I don't want to get the name wrong, Mayor Duzel, did seem to be the most cost-effective one, and I did really appreciate that they worked with county nursing homes as well as the city of Bethlehem Fire. So will be going along with that suggestion as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just wanted to add that since yesterday's meeting, I did speak with someone who knew of their reputation and their actual practice in the city of Bethlehem, and they gave them a glowing review. So that was also good to hear from somebody who had actually been part of that process.
Very good.
Anyone else have a comment? Then I'd like to ask for a motion to add the name of who will be the auditor. Mr. Cusick?
I'd like to make a motion to amend the resolution to replace the blank with Mar Ducell.
Thank you. Is there a 2nd?
I'll second.
Thank you. Can we call for a vote on the motion? On the motion itself.
on the amendment.
Mr. Kuzic?
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro?
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Mr. Lot?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 9-0.
Now I'd like to call for a vote on the amended resolution.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic?
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro?
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Mr. Lot?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Is there any other new business to discuss this evening?
I just have a statement I'd like to.
You got to turn your mic on.
My mic is on.
Oh, okay, I couldn't hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. I received a campaign mailer this week from Mr. McClure, and I just want to say a few words about it. Yes, it is a campaign year. I paused at the statement, McClure's fiscal responsibility mean the county can cut taxes and make life a bit easier for all of us. Through the years, I've observed campaign pledge of lowering taxes many times. I'm happy to know that the county is fiscally responsible and in good shape financially, but do we need a tax increase? A tax decrease? I mean, maybe this isn't part of his plan. Maybe I was reading something into it that I should not have. Few people complain about their county taxes, and there hasn't been a tax increase in your years of leadership, and you're commended. You should be commended for your leadership. But a tax decrease? Think about it. It wasn't long ago that the people who cared about Gracedale went out and amassed enough signatures to put Gracedale's future on the ballot. It was a feat never done before in my recollection. Then, with the opportunity to express the opinion with their vote, the voters of Northampton County voted overwhelmingly to keep Gracedale in county hands. Now it seems that Gracedale needs help. Our stars aren't where they should be. We have many vacancies. We did one thing tonight that gets us on the path to making things better. But any money that you might realize from a tax decrease, plus any other dollars you can find, give it to Gracedale. In my opinion, I'm not even sure it's not time to bring back a management company. We've been through this before. Okay, so rather than a tax decrease, a much better campaign pledge would be to increase the star ratings and so forth at Gracedale. The voters who voted to save Gracedale wanted to be a place of pride and over-the-top evaluations. I know that rather than getting a tax bill next year for a few dollars less than this year, I, along with many voters in the county, want Gracedale to be at the best it can be. And those few dollars could go to help Gracedale. So I'm anticipating more than the budget hasn't been released yet, but I just wanted to make that statement because I truly feel we're in good shape, but boy, if there's any money out there, Gracedale needs it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ferraro. Are there any other new business items to discuss? Hearing and seeing none. Anyone have a council committee report that they'd like to give? Mrs. Zirinsky. Ms. Zirinsky.
Yeah, don't call me my mother. Okay?
Sorry.
Thanks a million. I'm just saying, Ms.
That's between you and her. I apologize.
So we had an Energy, Environment, and Land Use Committee meeting today. We discussed the Spangler property, which we also discussed in committee, and also the update on the Mincy Lake corridor plans, the update on Northampton County agroforestry project, which is a very interesting planting of trees that we're going to make that would increase the diversity of trees in the area and just add so much to this area. We also talked about the Wildlands Partnership with Keep a Beautiful grant, and Mr. John Mauser gave an outstanding presentation on the Karst Geology Advisory Council, and he will be going to Harrisburg on the 27th.
Thank you. Any other county committee reports? Hearing and seeing none. Any council liaison reports? Mr. Giovanni.
Yes, the IT Governance Committee met remotely on September 7th, Tuesday, September 7th. And the biggest issue, which is a project that's moving kind of slow, is a Clarity project. All the configuration is done. IT is doing the training this week. They have got 25 licenses, and the licenses go over video and audio, and it goes by rooms. Of course, this room is on one of those licenses, the chamber. And he's also thinking about moving it out to the district magistrates. And above that, refresh and all the other stuff is gone like normal. And that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Giovanni. Any other liaison reports? Mr. Rinsky?
I had a conservation districts meeting this week. We discussed that the conservation districts got a certificate of recognition for the 60 years of service and dedication to the conservation of natural resources of Northampton County. I think that is commendable. Also, we talked about the spotted lanternfly, which is always something that's on everybody's radar, and apparently the county is doing much better with it, and that's thanks to a lot of mitigation that we've done. Some of the discussion did frame the problem as something as the spotted lanternfly kind of explodes in one area and then moves on. So what we're kind of experiencing is somewhat of a receding as the spotted lanternfly spreads, so don't think that we're out of the water yet. And again, John Mauser gave a report on the Karst Geology Advisory Council. I also attended Farmland Preservation. It's interesting, we have preserved 17,879.5 acres of land on 225 farms. We are moving through the list. There are 13 farms on the 2021 list to be preserved, 8 from 2020 that are still in process, 2 from 2019, and 1 from 2017 that are all in process.
Thank you. I attended the Discover Lehigh Valley meeting this week. The summer campaign, advertising campaign is wrapping up, and they have renewed us for a fall campaign. So you'll be seeing those ads roll out slowly soon. They also discussed the budget, and they discussed the occupancy rate. Ours is slightly below the Poconos, but that's not bad news. We're still better than anybody else, and the Poconos is the highest in the state. The other thing is that in terms of looking at how we are now to where we were when, they compared us to the 2019 level, and we're only 1% below. So that's a nice comeback. And then they compared July 2019 to now. So, you know, I think we're doing well as an area. And then, you know, just other normal business and tourism was discussed, but I think we're in a good position. Anything else? Anybody else? Council Clerk's report.
Okay, in about 2 weeks, the budget will be coming out. So we will be sending a tentative schedule out tomorrow, but it will be confirmed once we receive the budget.
Okay. Council Solicitor's report, sorry.
Nothing.
Melissa, you got anything to say? Okay. I need another lozenge, I'm running out here. Nothing? Nothing. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Is that Giovanni? I heard Giovanni. I didn't get a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.